Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to be here this morning. I appreciate looking around and seeing so many dear friends. I want to thank Governor Pillen for attending, all our elected officials. My special thanks to Governor Heineman and especially to Governor Kayor. She is a mentor. She is a force. She is an example of someone who understands the importance of service, and she has been with me since the very beginning. I also want to thank my husband, Bruce, who is probably in a back row someplace. I especially want to thank Bruce, who is here today as well. And friends, I am honored and I'm humbled by the widespread support that I've received all across the state. Nebraskans know me. I am no stranger to them. I've spent many years traveling this state, county by county, and community by community. And I got those start doing that by spending many, many days, weeks, months, and years by taking those long, beautiful drives along Nebraska roads, visiting constituents in my legislative district, which was the size of New Jersey. I can tell you every Casey's station, which has the best breakfast pizza between here and Alliance, easily. I can tell you the best diners to go to, the best Mexican, which is Rosita's in Scotts Bluff, and all the wonderful places and communities across this state. But most importantly, I know the people. I know who we are, and I know what we stand for. Like so many Nebraskans, I started my time in public service on a local school board. And I wanted to make sure that our students were receiving the education that they deserve to prepare them for the 21st century. And together, we made a difference for those kids. Then I was encouraged to get involved at the state level. I was involved in a lot of education and finance issues, and most of the time, I was the only woman in the room. And I learned early on, I am not going to pour the coffee for the guys. That is an important point that every woman in this room is now nodding because they understand what that means. There's a reason that they call me sharp as barbed wire and tough as a cedar fence post. I had a network of people all across the state through many long-standing relationships, and those were built on education and finance and ag issues. And it was built on trust, and it was built on accomplishments. And so I was then elected to serve 2 terms in the Nebraska legislature. And together, we made a difference for our communities. We secured needed tax relief. We passed my important bills that dealt with managing our water resources. We passed my landmark Build Nebraska Act to be able to maintain and build roads and bridges across the state. We all know that roads are the lifeblood of this state, and they're hardwired to my own DNA. And I learned my love of roads through my dad. My brothers and I, we would go on family drives with my mom and dad on Sundays, but they always included inspection tours. My dad worked for the Department of Roads. So they always included these inspection tours, and we would be lined up and all of our pictures growing up were in front of bridge abutments, or we're in front of dirt movers. We're looking over bridges holding plumb lines down and trying to understand what that all is. But it was his understanding of infrastructure and his belief in that it is a core responsibility of government that really drives me. My mom's a longtime teacher here in Lincoln Public Schools. She worked every day towards always building a brighter future for children. We just lost her recently, and I miss her. I'm sure many of you remember my mom from my first campaign. She was in the campaign office just really about every single day, and she made thousands of phone calls. She was very persuasive, and towards the end of the campaign, she got a little feisty as well. But she definitely was a secret weapon. I think many of you here also remember what it felt like in 2012. We heard from the talking heads in Washington, and they basically just counted us out. But we knew with hard work, with determination, and a campaign that was going to be built and was built on solid Nebraska values, that we would win this. And Nebraskans, they counted this rancher in. We had a great win in the primary, and we had an overwhelming victory in November of 2012. So each and every day since I took that oath of office as your United States Senator, I have fought for this state. I'm proud of my record. There is no question that I'm a conservative. You can just look at my votes. I'm also, just was pointed out by Glenn Beck, that he said that I outflank Senator Josh Hawley in that regard of being a conservative on my votes. So don't question me on that. But I also get the job done for Nebraska, and I take care of our people. I led our delegation in securing needed funding to upgrade the runway at Offutt, and I thank Congressman Don Bacon for his help in that, a driving force. I partnered with our governor and our federal team to help Nebraska rebuild after the historic flooding that we saw. I worked across the aisle with Brad Ashford to pass the Chip In for Vets Act because we needed new facilities in Omaha for our veterans. We couldn't wait around for them to receive the high-quality health care that they deserve. And I also led here in Lincoln to make sure that Lincoln veterans had a VA clinic. We passed legislation to modernize the levees that provide clean drinking water for 2/3 of the people of this state, both here in Lincoln and in Omaha. And at the same time, we fought the EPA. We fought them tooth and nail when bureaucrats in Washington who know nothing about our way of life, they tried to regulate farm dust as pollution. We also stood up for working families. I voted against tax increases on the middle class, and I have opposed Joe Biden's bad economic ideas that drive up costs for families. Congress, on a bipartisan basis, recently passed my resolution overturning a Biden regulation driving up middle-class consumer costs. Unfortunately, President Biden vetoed it. And that's even more reason that we need to vote for a change at the White House in 2024. I've also led the fight against President Biden's student loan bailout. That's a terrible idea. Think about it. That unfairly places a personal debt on the backs of middle-class taxpayers. Nebraskans know that there is no more fundamental core duty of a limited government than national defense, than protecting this nation. And that is where I focus the vast majority of my time as your senator every single day. As a senior member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, I have worked tirelessly to ensure that our men and women in uniform have the resources that they need so that they are able to complete the missions that they are assigned. I fought for their pay raises. I've demanded accountability from generals, and I've been a champion for modernizing our nation's nuclear weapons. That nuclear deterrent is the bedrock of our national security. I have also led the way in calling for this government to stand up to China. We must always, always follow President Reagan's edict and secure peace through strength. That means a first-rate military and also moving away from our economic dependence on China. I've made several visits to the southern border, and I voted and will continue to vote to secure that border, whether it's through building a wall, technology, more border patrol. We have to know who is coming into this country and what they're bringing. You can fit a tactical nuclear weapon into a backpack. The crisis at our border is an absolute nightmare, and it is one that could have been totally avoided. It is a humanitarian crisis, and it is a national security crisis. And I will continue to insist that Democrats protect this country along our southern border. We Nebraskans also believe in a limited federal government, and infrastructure, I believe, is a core duty of a limited federal government. There are just certain projects and priorities that we have, those investments that need to be made in our infrastructure, that's beyond the scope of a single state. And so I've written bills to cut red tape, to expedite road projects, and I've made sure that Nebraska gets its fair share, like the Lincoln South Beltway, so it can move forward. And finally, I have never shied away from standing up for our values. I was proud to support President Trump's 3 nominees for the United States Supreme Court, a court that at long last overturned the misguided Roe decision. My friends, my service in the United States Senate has been the honor of my life. And today, I humbly ask your support so that I can continue to serve the people I know in this state that I love. My friends are going, she's going to get all emotional in this part. But it is a deep, deep love I have for this state. You know, together, we've made a difference for this country. And it's no secret that we live in dangerous times. We live in dangerous times here at home and also abroad. And it seems that our way of life is under attack at every turn. And I'll be honest, you know, some weeks in Washington, it can just really get pretty depressing. But once I land at Epley, on a Thursday night and I come home, it gives me hope. And it gives me hope because of all of you, all of you. It's easy to have that hope because Nebraskans are good people. We are pioneers and we are patriots. We don't want a hands up, we just want a fair shake. And so together with your support, we're going to continue to stand tall for our shared values, and we're going to take care of our people. We will build Nebraska. We will protect this nation. And we will secure a brighter future for our children and for our grandchildren. Thank you.